So when you think about the world's best negotiators, what comes to mind? You're probably picturing some high-powered CEO in a glass boardroom, right? But what if I told you that some of the most effective, most powerful negotiation secrets come from a place where the stakes are, quite literally, life and death? We're talking about the FBI.
Now, think about this for a second. How many times a day, or even a week, do you start a conversation with this exact question? Hey, you got a minute? I mean, it sounds totally fine, right? You're just being polite.
Well, here's the kicker. According to Chris Voss, who was the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator, that simple little question is your first mistake. It seems totally harmless, but it's actually a tiny little crack in the foundation of a good negotiation. And once you understand why it's a mistake, it'll change the way you talk to people.
Okay, so here's the big idea, the thing that turns everything we've been taught on its head. We spend our whole lives chasing the word yes, but the FBI's approach? They understand the incredible and totally overlooked power of the word no. And it all starts with something that affects every single one of us every day. It's this thing called decision fatigue. I want you to think about your willpower, your ability to make good choices like a battery on your phone. At the start of the day, it's at 100%. But every single decision you make, what to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, drains that battery just a little bit. By the end of the day, you're in the red, and saying yes to one more thing feels absolutely exhausting.
And if you think this is just some abstract theory, check this out. Studies have actually shown that judges are way more likely to grant parole in the morning than they are in the afternoon. And why is that? It's not because the afternoon prisoners are worse, it's because the judges are wiped out. They're suffering from decision fatigue. And the easiest, lowest energy decision is just to say no and keep things as they are. You see, a yes is a commitment. It takes energy. A no? Well, a no feels safe. It's protection.
Okay, so if yes is tiring and no feels safe, how in the world do we actually use that to our advantage? Well, let's look at how we can flip our opening questions around to give the other person a sense of control right from the get-go. So instead of our old classic, do you have a few minutes? Try this next time. Is now a bad time to talk? The psychology here is just fascinating. The second question makes it incredibly easy for them to say, no, it's not a bad time. And that little word no makes them feel secure. It makes them feel in control. They've just protected their time, and because of that, they're suddenly way more open to actually hearing what you have to say.
Here's another fantastic one. Instead of asking someone to commit and agree that your idea is good, you soften it. Try something like, is it a ridiculous idea to try this new approach? I mean, this just completely lowers the stakes. You're giving them total permission to shoot it down without feeling like a jerk, which, paradoxically, makes them way more likely to actually consider it.
This next story just shows how mind-blowingly powerful this simple switch can be. Chris Voss tells this story about a woman who is just getting stonewalled. She'd been trying for weeks to get a head nurse to approve a new program. She kept asking, "Are you in favor of this?" and just got nothing. So during a break in one of Voss's training sessions, she calls the nurse and asks one simple different question. "Are you against this program?" The nurse immediately said no, and guess what? They implemented the program that very day. It's the same goal, just a different path with a wildly different result.
Now, this isn't just a one-way street, right? It's not just about getting what you want. It's also about how you say no. The whole point is to push back or reject an offer without creating an enemy. You want to make it no feel like just another part of the problem-solving process.
And this quote from the former GM of the Dodgers just nails the mindset. You don't want to just drop a no bomb on somebody. That's a conversation killer. Instead, you kind of signal it. You let it out slowly, piece by piece, giving them a chance to adjust their expectations and start working with you. This phrase is probably one of the most famous tools from this whole method. When someone makes a request that's just totally out there, instead of saying no way, you ask, how am I supposed to do that? Now, this isn't you being aggressive. It's a genuine question about implementation. It forces them to stop and actually see the situation from your side of the table. It's a thing called forced empathy, and it basically invites them to help you solve the problem. And what if you just have to give a hard no? Well, this phrasing is incredibly effective. Let's break this down because it's brilliant. First, calling their offer very generous praises them and encourages them to stay reasonable. But then, saying it just doesn't work for me makes the rejection about your specific, unarguable situation. It's not about some market rate they can debate. It's graceful, it's firm, and it just shuts down the argument.
All right, so we've got our opening lines, and we know how to say no collaboratively. But what about all those other weird, tricky moments, like when you're being ignored, or you get put on the spot, or the other person just isn't doing what they said they would? Let's get into a few troubleshooting tools. You know that little dance at the start of a business call? Someone asks, "How are you?" And they don't really want to know. They're just getting ready to talk business. This response cuts right through that in a way that actually builds rapport. You're showing them you get it, you respect their time, and you're ready to go. They almost always appreciate the directness.
This is a really big one. People almost never ask the question that's actually on their mind. There's always a question behind the question. Your job is to find it. You can be direct and just ask, what makes you ask? Or for a softer touch, you can use what negotiators call a label. You just verbalize what you think they're feeling, like, "It seems like you have a good reason for asking that," and then you just stop talking. That silence gives them the space they need to tell you what's really going on.
Oh, we have all been there. You're working on something and then suddenly, radio silence. You've been ghosted. The fix is a shockingly simple one-sentence email. Have you given up on this project? It's another one of those no-oriented questions, and it works like magic to restart conversations. And once they reply, your only job is to listen and summarize what they're saying until you hear the two magic words. That's right. That is the green light. That's when you know they feel understood, and you can finally start moving forward again.
And finally, what do you do when someone just doesn't deliver on a promise? Your first instinct is probably to say something like, "Why haven't you done this yet?" But that just puts them on the defensive. Instead, you use that labeling technique again. It seems like you have a reason for not getting that report done. This signals that you're there to understand the problem, not to point fingers, and that makes them feel safe enough to tell you the real issue.
So what does this all boil down to? Look, it's not about memorizing a bunch of magic phrases. It's about a complete shift in how you think about communication. It's about understanding the psychology of no so you can fight decision fatigue. It's about making disagreement a way to collaborate. It's about focusing on making the other person feel so deeply understood that they say, "That's right." And it's always, always about looking for the real motivation behind their words.
I know, a lot of these techniques feel a little weird, maybe even wrong the first time you try them, but they are so powerful because they're based on how human beings actually work. So the only question left is, which one of these are you going to try first?